Robert Mercier was a talented running back for the Leominster High School Blue Devils in 1948 and 1949. Later, he was recruited by Leominster native Lou Little to play at Columbia University.
We'll have to go back to the 1972 team, the championship team we had that won 10 and lost 1. We were beaten by St. Peter's early in the year, but we beat Leominster that year also up in Fitchburg. It was a great ball game, and I'll never forget the play of boys like Michael Sorcer and Bobby Watton, the quarterback, and Rick Cruz. And the thing that stands out in my mind there was that we had a real good tackle named Bizzardo. And Bizzardo got hurt about a week before the game, or 3 or 4 days before the game, so we didn't know who to go to. So I talked to Coach Crank, he was assistant coach. I said, "What do you think, Coach?" He said, "Well, I think we'll go with Rick Cruz." And I looked at him with a very quizzical look. I said, "Rick Cruz, he hasn't played much all year." He said, "We're going to go with Rick Cruz." Well, I almost said to myself, I don't think he's going to make it, but I'll never forget that as long as I live. It was the most satisfying thing that I think I ever witnessed.
Marco Landon, outstanding end who played on the varsity squads of 1945, 1946, and 1947, and was named an All-Star all 3 years. He was the first person to be inducted into the Hall of Fame of both Leominster High School and Fitchburg High School, having served as Fitchburg's football coach for a long tenure. David Chester, a member of Leominster's varsity squad in 1952, 1953, and 1954. He was a talented running back who contributed to Leominster's 1952 undefeated season and wins over Fitchburg High School during all 3 years of his high school playing days. Michael Vendetti, Leominster High School, 1948 and 1949. He was an outstanding tackle and named to the North Worcester County All-Star team. He played at Boston University and coached and was athletic director at Nichols College. Richard Surratt, a powerful fullback, an important member of the Leominster High School 1952 undefeated team. Surratt scored 2 of Leominster's 3 touchdowns in its 20-7 win over rival Fitchburg in 1952. John Bigelow, the shifty halfback who scored 2 of Leominster's 3 touchdowns in an 18-0 win over Fitchburg in 1939. Bigelow also served as an assistant coach at Leominster High School during the 1950 season. Roger Robichaud, member of the Leominster High School 1939 and 1940 football teams. A quarterback and punter, Robichaud helped Leominster earn victories over Fitchburg in 1938, winning 18-0, and 1940, winning 6-0. Ronald Sardelli, an all-around great athlete, a fleet 140-pound halfback who helped lead Leominster High School to an undefeated season in 1952.
When I get out of practice, I used to hang around the Leominster Rec Center. And my cousin Ronnie Sardelli was a boxer at that time. And I was in the coffee shop at the Rec Center because I used to play pool, and it was a place to hang around where you wouldn't get into a lot of trouble. And his manager was John Conley, who happened to be the sports writer for the Sportsfolio in Fitchburg. John Conley was trying to interview me in the coffee shop, and I said, John, I don't think it's a good idea for me to say anything before the game. And he says, well, off the record, what do you think of Fitchburg? And I says, well, Fitchburg plays like a bunch of Lancaster girls, because at the time there used to be a girls' school down in Lancaster. And I said that just in jest, and 2 days later in the paper they had a big article, Leominster Star, blah, 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 about And in the first half of the Thanksgiving game my senior year, I heard all about the Lancaster girls every time they hit me. I thought I got hit by a Mack truck.
Ron Togo Palazzi, a member of the Leominster High School football squad in 1954, 1955, and 1956, all three squads victorious over Fitchburg.
And I know Ron Palazzi had been giving us the business a little bit, particularly a fellow by the name of Dick Boutwell for Fitchburg, who was a pretty tough football player, and I know Dick hit Ron pretty good a couple of times, and I can remember Charlie Broderick, Leominster coach, as Ron was knocked down on the ground one play, coming out just telling him to get up. He did. I wished he had never gotten up. He came back to play an outstanding football game that day.
Tremendous values. The core values that we learn are invaluable. The core value of trust, respect, learning mental toughness, developing self-discipline, full accountability. You either made the tackle, that's what's so beautiful about football. You either made the tackle or you didn't. You either caught the pass or you dropped it. There's no pointing fingers, it's on you. And the life's lessons that we learn for a young man to become a man someday and to become a husband, to become a better father, is developed through this sport. Frank
Novak, a dynamic quarterback who played his senior season at Leominster High School in 1955, leading the team to a 39-7 victory over Fitchburg. Richard Robichaud, talented halfback from Leominster High School for 1956 and 1957. Robichaud was the only Northwester County All-Star selected in 1957 to have repeated from the 1956 All-Star squad. Robert Novelli, tackle on the 1950 and 51 teams. He served as assistant coach to Charlie Broderick from 1958 through 1964. Anthony Picucci, an outstanding guard who helped anchor the offensive and defensive line for Leominster in 1939. Thought by most sports writers to be one of the best defenders in the state. The 1910 Leominster High School team. The 1910 team, led by Leominster football legend Lou Little, was the first undefeated football team in Leominster High School history. It was one of the few early teams to enjoy success against Fitchburg High School, dominating the red and gray by a score of 23-0 on Thanksgiving Day. The 1952 team. The 1952 team was the third undefeated team in the history of Leominster High School football. The team did suffer a 7-7 tie against powerful Watertown for its second game of the season. The blue and white outscored their opponents 267-24 during its impressive season. John Celli, a dedicated trainer, equipment manager, and all-round supporter of Leominster High School football for over 40 years. Aldi Nicholson, a great supporter of high school football. Nicholson introduced the Nicholson Cup in 1926. The cup has been awarded to the winner of the Leominster-Fitchburg football games since that date. Nicholson also paid for the fencing around the old high school field on West Street, which served as the venue for Leominster High School home games between 1918 and 1930. When Nicholson passed away on October 20th, 1934, the 40th anniversary of the first Leominster-Fitchburg football game, the entire Leominster football team attended his wake.
Personally, I've been wrapped up in Leominster Fitchburg Thanksgiving games since 1921, which was 57 years ago when I saw my first game. I remember getting together the necessary 20 cents to take the trolley car from Leominster to Fitchburg, and I saw that game where Leominster was quite an underdog. In fact, Fitchburg was an overwhelming favorite. And Leominster was behind 7-0 until Dick Drummond picked up a fumbled Fitchburg punt and ran 23 yards for a touchdown. And since then, the game has been quite a tradition with all the same fanfare that goes with it and all the emotion right up until the present game tomorrow.
Dr. Charles A. Wheeler was longtime physician to Leominster High School football team. Theodore Ted Kucharski, longtime assistant coach of the Leominster High School football team, who served in that capacity from 1931 through 1952. Players from those teams credit the longtime assistant coach with significant contributions to Leominster's success. Emil Roseberry, one of the founders of the Leominster Pop Warner League in 1961, which became a valuable feeder system for Leominster High School football.